So, John, tell me why the Luke 10 community developed the foundation course.
Tim, a remarkable thing has happened in the U.S. over the last about 10 years. 10 years ago, the idea of house church was virtually unknown. My guess is that less than 1% of American Christians were involved in house church in any way. But over the last 10 years, things have changed. And just last year, the Pew Research Foundation reported that 9%, this is amazing, 9% of American Christians now say that house church is their only form of church. This has got to be the fastest growing segment of the American church. And it's largely unreported and often unknown because house churches are relatively invisible. So, very exciting.
So you said from 1% to 9%?
Correct.
Wow.
Over 10 years. That's phenomenal. Something important is going on. But there's a problem. And what we've discovered is that in many cases, the people who are coming into house churches are people who are coming out of traditional churches. And so they're bringing with them, naturally, all the things that they've learned in traditional church, all the practices and patterns and so on. And we've actually come to call this, Honey, I Shrunk the Church. So people have taken what they've learned, it's all they've known of church, and shrunk it down into a house and tried to do that there. And almost universally have discovered it's not working very well. It's kind of taking the old wine of old practices of church and trying to put that into the new wine of house church, and finding that they're still disappointed. There's not that kind of vibrant families of Jesus, genuine community, discipleship taking place that they had longed for and hoped that house church would provide for them.
Yeah, and I know that many of the folks in the Luke 10 community have experienced these same frustrations you've just described.
Yeah, exactly right. Some of us in the Luke 10 community have been involved for 15 or 20 years with house church. And we experienced those same frustrations. It seems like there's supposed to be more. And so we would keep coming to the Lord and we would say, so Lord, how do we do this? How do we tap into the new wine? And He would teach us some things. We'd go practice that for a while. And we'd come back and talk about it with the Lord, and He'd teach us some more things. And we'd go practice that. And little by little, over the years, we've come to understand and come to be clear about the practices, the rhythms, the tools, the skills that are necessary to tap into the new wine. These are the things that really make house church into what we'd really hoped all along that it would be.
So what are some of the things that you've learned?
One of the most important things that we've learned is that many Christians don't have a clear idea of how to hear God's voice. They've been sitting in church all these years. They've been listening to sermons. Somebody else has been reporting to them what they think God is saying. And so a key thing that we have learned how to do is to teach people how to hear God's voice, both on an individual basis, but also as a community. Because we believe that when we meet, Jesus is truly present, and He speaks. He's the Lord of the church. He brings the agenda. So critical to everything else about church, the community, the outreach, all those things, is learning to hear His voice. The second thing that the Lord spoke to us was that He said, smaller still. And what He meant by that...
Say that again.
Smaller still.
Okay.
And the idea is that the house church is not the smallest expression of church. Jesus, like in Matthew 10, paired up His disciples 2 by 2, sent them out 2 by 2. And we realized that it's the CO2, this church of two, that really is the smallest expression of church. This is an expression that can connect on a daily basis. House church often, it's once a week. But the CO2 can connect on a daily basis. And we found that the CO2s, the churches of two, are really the basic building block for every larger expression of church. If you're going to have a really healthy, vibrant house church, people in it need to begin to embrace this idea of CO2. So that's one of the key practices that we've learned over the years.
So that sounds great. So tell me the specifics of what's involved in the Foundations course.
Okay. Well, a lot of that's going to be spelled out below. If you right below this video, we'll go through all the specific things that we do in this 6-week course. But the real short form of it is that it's a learning community. It's a small group of people, anywhere from 6 or 8 up to 12 or 15, who make a commitment for 6 weeks to be involved with this. And the goal is not just learning information, but it's developing new habits and practices. We're passionate about passing on the things that we've learned that really can help house churches become what we've all along hoped that they would be. So we'd love to have you come join us. Read over what you see below here. There's a place where you can register for we call it the Foundations course. You can register. Also, my email address is there if you'd like more information. So, love to have you join us.